This is Fog of Work, and today we're exposing the quiet trap you were born into. Wage slavery isn't just about money. It's about time, control, identity. It starts earlier than you think. In childhood, in classrooms, in every moment you were told to obey. The system made you believe that work equals worth, that exhaustion is noble, that freedom is earned if you behave. But none of that is true. In this video, we're breaking down the machine, how it was built, how it controls you, and how to start breaking free, even if you're not ready to walk away just yet. If you stop working and your life falls apart, you were never free. You were leased. That's the cold truth nobody wants to admit. You might have chosen your job, but you never chose to need one. From the moment you were old enough to understand money, the message was clear. If you don't earn, you don't eat. That's not freedom. That's a leash. The system we live in presents work as a voluntary exchange, your time for their money. But look closer, and the choice starts to look more like survival instinct. What's the real difference between a man working for a paycheck and one working under threat of starvation? The bars are invisible, but they're there. You're free to choose between being overworked or being homeless, between anxiety or hunger, between burnout or bankruptcy. And somehow, we've been convinced this is freedom. But it's not freedom if the only way to live is to submit. Wage slavery isn't some glitch in the system. It is the system, and it was built deliberately. Before the rise of industrial capitalism, people lived off the land. They fished, farmed, traded. They worked for themselves or for their families, not for faceless corporations. But then the land was enclosed, the commons disappeared, and machines replaced small-scale agriculture. People were forced off their farms and into factories, not because it was better, but because it was the only way to survive. The elites didn't build the system to give people opportunities. They built it to extract labor, to control. The idea wasn't to empower workers. It was to ensure a permanent labor force that needed to show up day after day or else go without. And it worked. Generations later, we don't even question it. We thank our bosses for giving us jobs. We celebrate long hours as noble. But those factories, they became offices. Those supervisors, they became managers. And the control mechanisms only got more sophisticated. We didn't escape slavery. We just automated it, sanitized it, and put it on a payroll. Your training didn't start with your first job. It started when you were 6. Sit still, raise your hand, wait for permission to speak, ask to go to the bathroom, follow the schedule, memorize the rules, don't question authority. School didn't teach you freedom. It taught you how to be supervised. It wasn't built to nurture thinkers. It was designed to produce workers. You weren't taught how to build a life. You were taught how to fit into one already built for you. By the time you graduated, you were fluent in obedience. Grades became performance metrics. Detention became HR warnings. The principal became the CEO. And you were ready. Not to live, but to comply. The system doesn't need rebels. It needs team players. And so, we grow up believing success is getting a job, climbing a ladder, following the rules, and never asking why. And the terrifying part? Most people don't even remember when they stopped questioning it. They had to call it something nice. Job sounds better than servitude. Career feels more exciting than dependence. Success makes you forget what it cost you. We dress up the system in empowering language, but all it does is hide the bars. Hard work pays off, unless it doesn't. Be grateful you have a job, even if it's destroying you. Lazy becomes a slur for anyone who refuses to submit to endless labor. We've internalized the rules so deeply that we shame those who question them. If someone wants more rest, they're selfish. If someone works fewer hours, they're uncommitted. If someone refuses to play the game, they're a problem. This is how control survives, not through force, but through consensus. The cage becomes invisible because everyone's inside it. We've confused compliance with character, loyalty with virtue. But there's nothing noble about surrendering your life for someone else's profit. They told you work would give you purpose, that if you played by the rules, you'd be rewarded. That loyalty would lead to security. But the dream was never meant for you. It was a sales pitch. Pensions, gone, job security, replaced by at-will employment, career ladders, more like hamster wheels. You can climb all you want. You're still in a cage. Even those who made it, who went to school, got the degree, put in the hours, learned the truth eventually. A bad quarter, a merger, a new CEO. That's all it takes for a life to be erased in an email. You gave your best years to a company, missed birthdays, skipped vacations, traded time with your kids for meetings with your boss, and what did you get? A pat on the back, maybe a severance package, if you're lucky. This system doesn't care how much you gave. It only cares how much it can take before you collapse. Let's say you work 40 hours a week. Add in the commute, getting ready, decompressing afterward. It's more like 60. That's 60 hours gone. Every week, for decades, you get a few scraps of time in return. Nights when you're too tired to think. Weekends that vanish in errands and recovery. A couple weeks of vacation if you're lucky. What's left for you? For your dreams? For the people you love? You don't trade value for money. You trade life for money. Time you'll never get back. And you're not even the one who profits. The company charges a client $150 an hour for your work. You get $25. Where does the rest go? To the same people who tell you to act your wage when you dare to ask for more. You're told to be a team player, to give 110%, to stay late. But the second the numbers dip, you're expendable. And yet we keep showing up. We justify the grind. We tell ourselves it's temporary, just until the promotion, the raise, the bonus, the break. But years pass, decades, and nothing changes. Because here's the truth. You don't own your time. They do. If this is hitting close to home, subscribe to Fog of Work. I make these videos for people who are done being used. Escaping wage slavery doesn't just mean quitting your job. If it did, this would be easy. The paradox is that many who try to escape end up in a different kind of trap. Start a business, they say. Be your own boss. But the hustle culture that promises freedom often delivers burnout with a new label. You're still working for money, still selling your time, now just under more pressure, with no safety net. Some people don't want to run a startup. Some don't want to grind on YouTube, freelance, or flip houses. That doesn't make them lazy. It means they want to live, not just work in a different costume. And even those who do break out often realize that the system follows them. You can fire your boss, but if you don't change the mindset, you become your own worst manager. Because escaping wage slavery isn't only about money. It's about time, agency, self-respect. If you don't reclaim those, you're still stuck. You were told that debt was a tool, that loans were an investment, that buying a house, a car, a degree, that was adulting. What they didn't say is that debt is the chain that keeps you obedient. Student loans mean you'll accept any job. Mortgages mean you'll stay quiet. Car payments, credit cards, healthcare premiums, they're all monthly reminders, keep working or else. But the lock isn't just financial, it's psychological. Comfort makes you passive. A nice apartment, a steady paycheck, a little dopamine from online shopping, just enough pleasure to keep you docile. just enough fear to stop you from risking anything. It's not that you love your job, it's that you're scared of losing the life that job allows you to maintain, even if that life is slowly crushing you. And so we stay. Not because we're trapped physically, but because we've been trained to fear freedom. Maybe you've heard this before. If everyone escaped wage slavery, society would collapse. It's the favorite argument of those who benefit from the system or are too scared to question it. Here's the truth: people will always work. But meaningful work is different from forced labor. People still want to build, create, serve, and solve problems, but they want to do it on their own term, not under surveillance, not under threat. Decentralized work already exists. Freelancers, artists, coders, makers. The world didn't fall apart when people left the office. In fact, a lot of people became more productive when they gained freedom. It's not that the lights would go out. It's that the empires would fall. The billionaires, the corporate landlords, the middle managers who produce nothing, they would lose their control. And that's what terrifies them. Maybe you tell yourself it's fine, that you'll travel later, relax later, start writing, painting, living later. But later never comes, because the system is designed to eat your time. Work takes your energy. Your energy affects your mood. Your mood shapes your relationships. And before you know it, you're older, disconnected, exhausted, and you don't even know what you missed. How many birthdays have you missed because of meetings? How many sunsets blurred into screens? How many people drifted away while you were too tired to call? You were not born to spend your best hours behind a desk. You were not put on this earth to answer emails and survive weekends. You were not meant to die with unread books, unexplored dreams, and unused time off. You are not your job. But if you don't fight for your time, that's all you'll ever be. Here's the darkest part. The system doesn't need guards anymore. It built them out of us. You've probably seen it. The coworker who shames others for leaving early. The friend who brags about 60-hour work weeks. The employee who reports others for not being a team player. Wage slaves become the system's loudest defenders, not because they love it, but because they've wrapped their identity around it. They've convinced themselves that burnout is noble, that loyalty is character, that suffering is strength. And when someone refuses to play along, they feel threatened. Because if someone else is breaking free, then maybe they could too. And if they're still here, then what was it all for? This is how the system enforces itself, through fear, through shame, through people who were broken and now help break others. You weren't just tricked into wage slavery, you were tricked into defending it. Rebellion doesn't always look like a protest. Sometimes it looks like a resignation letter, a side hustle, a downsized apartment, a reclaimed weekend, a single no to an unpaid overtime request. The revolution isn't loud, it's quiet, it's slow, but it's real. It starts with awareness, with asking questions, with noticing the cage. Then it grows with action, even small ones. Maybe you can't quit your job today, but maybe you stop chasing promotions you don't want. Maybe you reduce your hours. Maybe you start writing again. Maybe you reclaim your morning. You don't have to be rich to be free. You just have to stop selling all of yourself. Because once you realize they don't own you, that's when they start to lose. They don't own your time unless you keep giving it away. This is fog of work. What would your life look like if no one could buy your time? Drop a comment. I always read and reply to every story. Let's talk about how you felt wage slavery in your own life and how you're fighting back. If this resonated with you, subscribe to Fog of Work and watch the next video. You're not alone, and you're not crazy. You're just awake.